Welcome to the final video of Galway Film Centre's guide to virtual production. Today is all about working collaboratively remotely. For the duration of 2020 and 2021, we at the Galway Film Centre have been working from home. This is a change a lot of people have also experienced. This new working environment gave us a reason to evaluate the structure we had working as a team. We'll be covering virtual machines using AWS and Nutanix Frame, along with source control and multi-user editing. When working from home, we quickly discovered that some people's machines just weren't up to spec. If you don't have a suitable device, you are simply unable to run Unreal Engine. By making several virtual machines available through a software called Nutanix Frame, we found that we were able to provide those in our team with stronger PC specs to suit their needs. So I'll quickly be running through just the overall layout and how the virtual machines work in Nutanix. So as you can see here, this is what you see if you're an admin and you're actually running this. So for us, we had 10 different virtual machines we could use. So we had 7 that were slightly lower spec, but still could run Unreal Engine. And for those that were doing heavier, kind of more intense work with 3D models, we had 3 different instances available of the Pro. So to access them, you simply could go into the Launchpad. And just like that, you see a desktop appear. And it's going to power on. So this is it just creating a virtual machine. Once you're logged in, this is what it looks like, just like your desktop. And as you can see, because I'm an admin, I have Epic Games installed for everyone that logs on. But yes, essentially this just works as if it was your own computer. So as long as you have an okay internet connection, you should be fine. You can see Unreal Engine installed. You have all the access you need. So if we go back into the admin view, back to our dashboard, and we have a look at some of the different services. So in our Launchpad, this is exactly the desktop we were just in. So here we have our Desktop 1 and our Desktop Pro. And this is what we want to allow, essentially. So you can customize it as needs be. And then capacity, this is where we choose different times that people can access it in, how many instances, how many users. But essentially, it all just means simply that it's a way for your team to use stronger spec PCs without actually owning the PCs. And this can be cost efficient, depending on the timescale of your project. When considering virtual production and Unreal Engine, it is likely that a whole team of people will be working on the same project. Regardless of if you are remote or not, you need a solution that can achieve 2 things. 1, multiple people can work on the same project at the same time, while making changes that everyone else will see. 2, have a way to revert to previous versions of the project. The way to achieve this in Unreal Engine is by implementing 2 things. Firstly, it is by using source control or version control. Secondly, and we'll be covering this later, is by setting up multi-user editing in your Unreal Engine 4 project. Source control or version control is exactly what the title suggests. It allows you to restore previous versions of the project. This can be done to the whole project itself or to specific aspects of a project. For example, if you tested out different layouts of your scene, there may be one from several iterations ago you may want to look at again. Source control allows you to easily revert back to that scene without losing any other changes you've made in the meantime. For our use case, we're actually using an online server, but for demonstrating today, it's just going to be local and just for one person. So for this, we're using Perforce, which is a source control software, and they actually have their own guide on how you can use Unreal Engine 4 with Perforce, and it's quite simple. So we'll be linking that in the description. You can see it just gives a really nice, concise version of everything you need to do. And they even have a video as well if it's easier for you to learn that way. So for it, you'll be needing to download all the Perforce apps and softwares. And once you have that set up, you'll see something like this here on the right, where it says Open Connection. And this is in P4V, which is their visual client. So for this, you can see ours is just local. We're using port 1666. And I already have it set up with my password and everything. So if I just hit OK, it should log me in to my source control. So as you can see, I don't have a workspace selected, which I'll need to do now. So this one's just called Unreal Engine 4, Galway Film Centre. Nice and simple. So this is local. So everything in your depot is actually what is online and what can be accessed by others. And your workspace is just in a folder in your computer. So you can see my directory here. So you actually don't need to put everything in the depot. And as like the tutorial itself, we'll go through it that Perforce have, where you only need your config, your content, and once you close that down, and your actual project. And that's all you need, because that's all that changes once you update a project. Everyone needs to start with the same project to begin with. And it's also good to know that Perforce is free for the first 5 users. So if you're a small team, this is a free solution that you can use. So actually, to open our project, we can go into the directory here and just double click. And as you can see, 1 of 1 in this case will mean there's only one version of this. Because it's new, and I was using this just for the demonstration, there's not really many changes happening. And once we open it up, it's already connected to the source control. And that's this little icon here. And because we see the green, we know it's working. But what we can do is just to show how you would connect is change source control settings. And if we hit run without source control, this is usually what you see, just the cross. So to connect to source control, we're using Perforce. Automatically, this will be what's coming in, and we know this to be true. So if you had different projects or different workspaces, this is where you choose it. And this is ours. And as you can see, it matches the name of our workspace here. So that's how we know it's the correct one. So we hit accept settings, and on the bottom right, we should get confirmation, and we're in. So the way it works is you want to check out objects. So for example, what we're going to be doing here is if we move this, it says one file needs to be checked out. So Unreal Engine knows this because we've moved it, they know we're working on it. So if we hit checkout selected, if anyone else was connected to source control, they could no longer change this asset because it's what I'm currently working on. So it just means there's no overwriting of anyone's work, which means no one's work is going to be useless because someone else wrote over it straight away. So for example, we could just change the scale, move it up. Great, our cube is now where we want it to be. So what we can do is submit to source control. Once we're happy with our scene, we can save it. We're going to write a change list, which is basically just telling your team or yourself what you did. So here it's increased scale of cube. Hit submit, and we submitted change list 6 in this case. So if we go back into our Perforce, and everything should be in here fine. So as you can see, it's saying free of 3, 1 of 1. So this is how many iterations there are. If you did want to go back to a previous iteration, you can click on it, right click, and get revision, and that's how you revert back. And once you do that, you can still revert forward again. So there's no commitment to just jumping back between different specifics of a project. We actually host our version control for Unreal Engine 4 online. And the way we did it was using AWS and Ubuntu. So there's this great tutorial that I have here by Michael Aller on Aller's blog, and we'll link it, where he goes through it with DigitalOcean and Ubuntu. And for us using AWS and Ubuntu, it was a very similar workflow to set up. We'll be putting all the resources we use in the description, so if you need anything more specific, it's there, or if not, just reach out to us. When trying to connect with someone on Unreal Engine 4 remotely from multi-user, you want to be on the same network regardless. A way to do this online is by using a VPN, so that your system thinks that you're on the same network. To do this, we followed a tutorial where you set up a soft Ether VPN client on your Windows machine. For our use case today, we're just going to do it locally, so we don't need to do this step at all. So the first thing you want to do is find your IPv4. So to do this, you're in command prompt and you hit ipconfig on any machine you're using, and this will give you your IPv4 address. Once we have both the IPv4s, to ensure we're on the same network, what you can use is ping. So what you do is type ping and then put in the IP address. So in this case, after you hit enter and you get a result and it comes back positive, then yes, they are connected and we can move on to Unreal Engine 4. So to do this in Unreal Engine 4, you need to enable the multi-user editing plugin. And to do this, you go into your plugins. We can search multi-user editing, and you can see here that ours is enabled. You'll need to restart your project after you do this. You need to ensure that any device you're using and looking to connect has the exact same project before you begin. And this can be done using the source control method we just went through. So it is also worth mentioning before we get too far that Unreal Engine themselves have quite good documentation on this. So if you have a look here, you can see they give a good overview in their official documentation, and they also have an entire section to getting started, which goes through step by step what you need to do in Unreal Engine for this to work. And as always, we'll be putting these links in the description. Once you have it enabled on both computers, we can hit Join Browse. Throw this here for the moment. So the idea is that you have one computer that's going to host your session, and then you're going to have different computers that are able to join your session. So you need to go into your project settings, and there's two different things in the engine we're looking out for. So first we have our UDP messaging. And what you need to do here is ensure your multicast endpoint is 234.0.0.1 and it's port 6666. And then your static endpoints are going to be all of your IPs with the end port 6666. So these are ones we'd used before, so we can clear these out and we can add the ones that we have today. Then the second setting we need to go into once we have our static endpoints in is the multi-user editing. So in here, you're simply going to see the server URL, which for us again is just Unreal Engine 4 Galway Film Centre. You want to name your devices and then just choose a color for yourself. So I'm going to go yellow for this PC. So once all of that is set up, we're ready to start a session. So to do this, we're going into the multi-user browser. And just a reminder to open that, it'll be in your toolbar. And we can go Join Browse. So if we launch a server, you're going to see some little dialogue like this pop up. And here we know it's running. So we can double click. So this is just from when I was testing yesterday. You see it tracks all the history of what everyone has done. And then similarly, you can see who's on it in the client section. So right now it's just this PC. So what I'm going to do now is do the exact same, but just have it be on my laptop. So as you can see, the laptop has now popped in, and if you're in your multi-user browser, you can see the list of all the changes that has happened, who has done them, when they happened. You can see who's joined under the clients and what permissions you give them if you're the main user. So in our case, what you can see is you can change the scale of objects, the location. You can see it in real time as someone else, who's doing it, what's happening. You get the little avatar that pops up in the color you chose and your name, so people know it's you. You can change the material on objects. You can change the time of day. You really just have choice of what you're going to do. So for example, you can have someone that's joining that is changing the lighting based on what your director or your DOP wants. By implementing a system similar to ours, you are ensuring that you can work collaboratively and efficiently with others. Well, at least we found it to help. These systems we put in place also work when on a solo project or when working in the same space. As always, be sure to check the description for our recommended list of resources for all aspects of virtual production. Galway Stories, Virtual Production through a 2020 Lens has been a series of online seminars brought to you by Galway Film Centre and Galway 2020. In association with Screen Talent Europe and with the support of Moetion Films, GMIT and Epic Games. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the series. It's been an absolute delight to make, and I'm really glad we got to share our workflow with you all. Don't hesitate to reach out to us at the Galway Film Centre if you have any questions. And that's a wrap.